16th annual MSB Polar Bear Plunge returns to Sandy Point State Park on Saturday, January 28th. Join Joe Flacco and thousands of others for a full day of fun that includes Plunge Fest, the free winter festival. Go to plungemd.com now to register. And we are back again on Inside PressBox, and I'm joined by Jerry Coleman, radio host and radio updater, 105.7 The Fan. And he also co-hosts with me on Sunday mornings on ESPN 1300. We're on at 10 o'clock in the mornings, Jerry. Let's take a look at 2011, not so much visually as content-wise, intellectually. What were some of the big stories locally? Let's start locally.
Well, for me, I think you have to talk about the changing of the guard at Maryland. Gary Williams, after 25 years, stepping down all of a sudden after Jordan Williams mysteriously goes to the NBA, the end of an era there. Ralph Friedgen forced out. You saw what Randy Edsall tried to do this year. It was a disaster. Hopefully better fate for Mark Turgeon. I think that stands out to me as the main local story. We could talk about the Ravens' rise again and what may happen into 2012 and the continuing disappointment of the Baltimore Orioles.
What about the Grand Prix? Where does that fit in on your, say, top 10 list of local stories around here? The fact that it came and we don't know whether it went or whether it'll be back. Clearly, it won't be back with the same people in charge.
That's completely true. I was there. It was a complete success being there, but in retrospect, a disaster. With all this money owed to people around the city of Baltimore, disgraceful the way it was handled, mismanaged. You have to wonder if it's going to be back. A lot of people tell me it's going to get rectified and it will return. They have a 5-year commitment, but they have to do a better job in organizing things. And I think the mayor has to take some sort of responsibility. She put this whole project together. She seems to have escaped justice somehow.
How about this spate of football players we had unheard of before? John Mackey, Bubba Smith, and Orlando Brown all pass away in the matter of about 6 weeks.
It was very tragic, especially Zeus, and obviously what happened with John Mackey going through the dementia that he had to endure. It brought the whole concussion thing to light. I think that's a story that's going to be followed closely in 2012 and have a major impact not only at the pro and the collegiate level, but scholastically and at the youth level. Things need to change or else some sports may be curtailed, and I'm talking about football specifically. A lot of people may not want to hear that, but with the rash of concussions, especially at a young age, it's a dangerous thing when you play with the brain. We all know that.
There's no question about it. Speaking of the brain, one of the shocking stories of the story was of the year was the suicide of Mike Flanagan. Caught us all off guard. Here's a guy quick with the one line, always had a sense of humor. I guess we didn't see the pain that was there in front of our eyes.
What that shows me is we just don't know these guys. I mean, we cover them on a regular basis. We're not in their inner sanctum, in their inner circle, in their house. We don't know what's going on personally inside their lives. We know what transpires on the field, in the locker room and such, but we don't know behind the scenes. We just saw that with the Bears receiver, Sam Hurd, who turned out to be a major kingpin. He came to Baltimore for the Ed Block Courage Awards.
A year
He seemed
ago.
to be a sweetheart of a guy, and now he's facing a long prison sentence unless he gets a good attorney.
One other big story of note, Jerry, this year, the University of Maryland apparently is going to need to cut 8 athletic programs.
That's sad too, because we realize there's a lot of people that come to college to play sports and participate. They may not make it at the pro level, but these revenue-generating sports help support that, and they've run out of money. I think they mismanaged the situation in terms of building too soon under Ralph Friedgen and really expanding the whole scene there in College Park. I think that sort of backfired on them, Stan.
Jerry, 2011 is just about behind us. Let's look briefly 2012, if you had a story to follow out there, can you think of anything? I mean, the Ravens leaving Westminster. Mike Preston of the Sun is pushing the fact that they should really rethink this. Do you think that'll be a story this year?
I think John Harbaugh is going to squash it. I think we'll see the Ravens show up at the stadium and have several practices, but he likes the privacy that Owings Mills presents. I think something else to follow is the #1 story in 2011, and it tells you what type of year we had, and that's the Penn State scandal. What's going to become of the new head coach? Tom Bradley, who's been there 30 years, is their interim coach. He apparently is a candidate. I don't understand how. This guy was involved in the whole Sandusky-Paterno era. They need to clean house at Penn State, and I think that will be a major story in 2012, what happens at one of the great college football programs and universities in our country.
The Orioles, you know, we talked about brain injuries before. We got less than a minute. The disappearance of Brian Roberts really hurt this ball club, both on the field and off the field.
Goes back to what I was saying about concussions and the impact they have. He's a changed person. If you've seen him of late, he doesn't seem to have the same body weight and muscle that he once had. Obviously, he's gone through some tough personal times because of the concussions, and we're learning more and more about it. I wouldn't expect Brian Roberts to play for the Orioles in 2012. I hope he does, but I think that is wishful thinking.
It's been great this
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I hope it's a healthy and prosperous one at 105.7 The Fan, and also at sportswithcoleman.com and with PressBox. We're going to be right back after these words to wrap things up on the show. Inside PressBox is presented by Friedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to friedmontmortgage.com now for all of your mortgage needs.